Great. Well, thanks so much, Christina and all of GCVI for having us back. I'm Sandy Knox. I'm a partner with Sidley Austin in the Palo Alto office. I lead our corporate venture capital practice for the firm. We're 2,000 lawyers globally. We've sponsored this marvelous event since its inception, and we're delighted to be back again today. And thrilled to invite Andrew and to have Andrew Chang, Managing Director of United Airlines Ventures, with us today to talk a little bit about your program.
Well, thank you, Sandy. Thank you to GCVI for letting us talk about our story a little bit. Really happy to see everyone in the room. We're excited to be back in person. If you flew United here, thank you. And if you didn't, hopefully you give us the opportunity to serve you soon.
Yes, and I understand that in this month's Hemispheres magazine, the seatback issue, there's an article about United Airlines Ventures and some of their recent investments, so read that on your way back. So Andrew, I think it would be great if you could tell us a little bit about what United Airlines Ventures is up to and how your program got started. I know you had made some investments, sort of onesie-twosies over the years, and then last year you leaned in hard and formed the entity, and how did that come about?
Sure, yeah, how we got started. It's really an evolution and expansion of our corporate development team. So we all at UAV wear two hats. We're the corporate development team and we're the venture capital team. Part of that setup is, we have synergies with the business units, business development. It is always a buy versus build analysis as we support our corporate development roles. So we've extended that to right now it's invest or build. And so that's part of the expansion into early stage investing. The concept itself is not new to our organization either. 2 of our 10 portfolio companies actually predate the creation of UAV last year. So the idea of fostering innovation, even outside of our firm, working with entrepreneurs, looking at early stage opportunities, being front and center and helping them make decisions is something that's been within United for at least 4 or 5 years.
Right. And can you talk a little bit about, I know on the deals that we've worked on together, there hasn't been just a financial component, right? There's also typically a commercial element. And can you talk a little bit about what the drivers are for you selecting the companies that you engage with on the commercial level and then on the investment side?
Right, I've heard, thus far in the discussion today, I hear a lot of sort of either or financial versus strategic, maybe a little bit of both. I think certainly there is a strategic component to what we are looking for, right? We were created really to achieve 2 objectives: decarbonize the airline and enhance the customer travel experience. So those are our 2 strategic goals. On the first point, we've been fairly public. We have a 2050 net zero goal. We have a 2035 interim target of reducing our carbon intensity by half. And those are all wanting to be achieved without the use of traditional carbon offsets. So we recognize that's a fairly ambitious target to achieve, which means we can't take a wait and see approach. And therefore that drives the strategic component of fostering and accelerating the innovation around decarbonization. On a travel experience, we are looking to connecting people and uniting the world, right? That is our mission. And in doing so, we need to do it in a differentiated manner and sustainably. And so how can we give you a premium product or service so that we build loyalty with you? You think of United when you fly for business or personal, going on vacation. We want to build that loyalty. And so thinking about you as the consumer, how can we make that travel experience that much more memorable? And that hits a lot of our strategic goals and when we're looking at new technologies, new services, new products.
Right. And so as you all have heard, this covers quite a range of investment possibilities and opportunities. So how does your team source these? Do you rely on inbounds, searches, referrals from close partners? How do you
We've had the fortunate luxury of having a lot of inbounds, right? So as Sandy, like you said, our business touches so many different components. When you think about United, we are a conglomerate, right? When you're flying from point A to point B, it's not just the aircraft, it's just not the pilots and the flight attendants who are the customer-facing aspect, but it's procurement, it's logistics, it's marketing and branding, it's technology, our Mileage Plus program, with the app, the Travel Ready Center as we've come out of the pandemic. It's a lot of different things, so there's multiple ways for us to try to be more efficient, be more productive, be more sustainable, and deliver more value to you. So thus far, there's a lot of different businesses that touch ours. And so for our first year here, we've been able to field a lot of different inbounds, lean on our relationships across the board and looking for investment opportunities.
Right. And are there any particular sectors that you're more focused on given the current, I don't know, ESG focus, the economy coming out of pandemic? I mean, what do those look like?
Yeah, so to help us stay disciplined, we've really identified 3 focus areas: sustainability, aerospace, and technology. Within sustainability, try to keep it high level, but it's really sustainable aviation fuel. So when you think about our GHG emissions, 98% of our GHG emissions are derived from burning jet fuel. So for us to decarbonize, that's the single most impactful way, is to figure out, right, Mother Nature took millions of years to create hydrocarbons. There's not much out there that has the energy density and energy content of that liquid hydrocarbon. So how do you duplicate that process in a frankly unnatural way to create sustainable aviation fuel? And so within that vertical, it is looking at any and all feedstocks, technologies, pathways, putting the pieces together, because it's not a fuel problem, it's an energy problem. And so with that, we're partnering a lot with the global energy integrated companies, because it is indeed an energy problem. Within aerospace, view that as sort of next generation aircraft, right? It touches on both the customer travel experience and sustainability. It could be part of our core business, or it could be an adjacency. You may have seen some of our current investments around Boom, which is supersonic flight, Archer, eVTOLs, Heart is an electric aircraft company, and ZeroAvia is retrofit, looking to use hydrogen fuel cells for engines. So if you look at those as examples, if we can electrify sort of the short haul, medium haul component of our network, that could be advantageous from a sustainability perspective, and also a customer experience, right? Flying the older, fuel inefficient turboprops, no one likes to fly those. Within technology, it's really a generalist practice. It is anything that can enhance our productivity, efficiency. When you think about, as an example, baggage handling, right? Wouldn't it be great if you drop it off at the check-in counter and it makes its way on the airplane through the use of automation, robotics, right? Baggage, RFID tagging, different components, because that will enhance our productivity and efficiency as we're embarking on our United Next Growth program, right? So if you think about that program, this time next year, we'll be taking a brand new aircraft every 3 days. Never been done before. So we're having a hard time keeping up with our existing operations. You layer that growth aspect on, we need all the help we can get from a technology and productivity perspective.
Right. We've heard a lot of discussions about, what has happened to CVC in the past when there have been economic downturns, and we're all sort of quaking in our boots a little bit. But I think the issue is especially acute for a global airline when travel went through the floor during COVID. I mean, it's coming back pretty strong now. But how do you answer the question that I'm sure you've gotten of, well, why is United investing in these crazy, flying taxi mobiles instead of just figuring out ways to make money today?
Yeah, I think, I think there are a couple of themes from earlier this morning, right, around diversification, and there is a big component to around that, right? We were in survival mode for 2 years, just making sure we could maintain the company so that if and when, as we are here today, people are flying again, we can serve you. So with respect to timing, look, I think the launch of our fund last year was really coming out of a pandemic. We're no longer distracted. We're back to service and growth mode, and thinking about you as the flying customer and our clients. How can we make that travel experience better? I think many of us learned through this, once in a lifetime generational experience that travel is fundamental for all aspects of our lives, right? Whether it's on the business side, yes, there's a component that will be remote and virtual, but I think we all learned there's an element of being in person, being connected live. It cannot be replaced, right, in a virtual setting. Similarly, and probably more impactfully on the leisure side, on the personal side, there's the dream of going on vacation, going to new destinations, spending time with your family, somewhere in the world you want to be, right? And so that is what our objective is. And so you can't really pinpoint now's the right time, later's the right time, when is a good time, when is a bad time. Every moment is the right time to consider what can we do, what can we provide to our traveling customers a better experience. And Megan mentioned it on the panel this morning, right? Decarbonization is really front and center. We are one of the hardest industries to abate, and we really can't wait, right? 2035, 2050 is not that far away, right? Many of these technologies will take 7, 10, 12 years to develop. We all recognize venture capital investing is longer term. And so we need to start that, not even now, right? We should have spent some of that time earlier. And so that's how we look at that long-term view.
Right. Taking a very, very long-term view to innovation.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great news for all of us in this room. So more tactical questions. How many members do you have on the UAV team? And then is that supplemented by the larger United Airlines Corp Dev team? And how do you work together?
So we do operate as a lean team. We have an 11-member team. Mm-hmm. We do wear 2 hats. Everyone works on venture capital and everyone works on corporate development. And so there's an immense amount of synergies from that. As we're looking at target opportunities, investment opportunities, there's no one better to diligence some of these technologies and emerging products and services than our own business units. So going back to my earlier point about being a conglomerate, right? Leaning on them to tell us, does this product work? How would it integrate into our systems? Is this something that we can use as a customer? Is this something that makes sense from a use case? That provides us great synergy. The entire team actually is formed from people who've spent 4 or 5 plus years within United, who have rotated through the business side. So many of our team members have spent time in network planning, network operations, digital technology, right? We have an in-house digital technology team, procurement. So they understand the ins and outs of the business, they understand the challenges, and they can take that and look externally to some of these opportunities come across our desk. How do they solve a problem much more quickly and efficiently than, frankly, we could do internally?
Right. That's great. And I know you come from an investment banking and financial analyst background. Coming into a large corporate and starting to make these investments that have a very, very strong strategic driver, how do you measure success? How will you know whether you're being successful in your investments, short-term, long-term?
There's a lot of ways to look at success, and frankly, we continue to evaluate it, right? We have board meetings at the UAV level every 2 months. It is a closely monitored strategy for us. I think we do indeed lead from the strategic perspective. So going back to our 2 founding tenets, right? Does this decarbonize the airline? does it improve the travel experience for our customers? Anything we invest in has to have some component of that. How do you value that? There are lots of ways, right? There are synergies across our internal business units. Do we accelerate some adoption of a product, good, or service? Do we generate more revenue? Do we generate more utilization on our flights? So there's a strategic component that can be translated to financial, but you need to see that as a visible result of our investments. All that said, we are financially driven. Cash is critical in an airline,
Right.
Particularly coming out of a pandemic. And so you have to justify putting very precious cash liquidity at risk for some of these investments, right? So we do look at financial return, short, medium, and long term. That is a component of our analysis, with the recognition that some of these technologies will indeed take several years to mature and commercialize.
Great. Any great words of advice for the audience, especially the people who are here from newer CVC units that are just getting started? If there's anything that you could tell
Sure.
people that you think would be especially helpful to someone just getting started, what would it be?
Sure. I think coming from my banking background and moving to the corporate world, right, into a public company, legacy airline, industrial company, one of the challenges and risks that I was worried about and concerned about is working within the procedures, protocols, and confines of an established public company while fostering innovation, entrepreneurship, and frankly, moving at a speed that doesn't always align with a public company conglomerate, right?
Right.
And so one of the things that we've done to mitigate that is look at a structure where, as UAV, we are independently established. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of United, yes, but our team, 11-member team, has its own 3-member investment committee, short and sweet. The 3 members are part of the UAV team, including our president, who leads the group. And so the 3 of us are actively involved every day in evaluating the projects, the opportunities. And so there's not a formal update that's required. The update happens every day, every week.
Right.
The 3-member committee then meets and regularly reports to a separate board. The board has been empowered by the United Airlines board. Our UAV board consists of 4 members of the United Airlines board, including plus our president. So it's a 5-member board. And they are also empowered to make decisions quickly, to make and improve investment sizes without going to the full board. So the idea of independence, autonomy, empowering the people that you trust to run the group, conduct the diligence, manage and assess the risk is clearly there. And so, while we are a subsidiary of a United Airlines public company, legacy airline, in many ways we function quite independently from a decision-making process, from a speed perspective, at the same time drawing from all of that legacy infrastructure and network, both internally and externally.
Great. Well, I think that's a really key, and it's a theme that's come up in past years for those of you who've been here before. Having a small team that's nimble and empowered and can make quick decisions at the speed that venture-backed companies demand in this ecosystem is really key. And on the legal side, I remember lots and lots of board resolutions and meetings of different constituencies to come up with a mandate and come up with exactly who is empowered to do exactly what and up to what levels. But once we got all of that in place, we just throw it in a drawer and we don't look at it again because everybody has thought through that structure and those lines of authority at the beginning, and that I can't tell you how valuable that has been. So it looks like we're wrapping up here. I just want to make a plug for we will be back tomorrow. I think our panel is at 11:15. We're going to be talking with the head of BP's venture arm and Honeywell's venture arm. I know United, you, Andrew, and your team work closely with them in this very collaborative ecosystem. So come back and see us again tomorrow. Thank you, Andrew, for all of your insights today.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.